So thank you. I really believe this panel has been food for many of our souls here. I want to thank again Esther Quintero, who was unable to be here. She really, we talked about this. I think what she has weaved together here has been really an interesting dialogue. So Esther has told me that my job is to talk to you a little bit about what AFT has been doing in terms of creating resources, support for labor management partnerships, and also thinking about how we scale them up in the future. So there's a few things on your table that I'll speak from. The first is we've been working with and trying to develop an even more closer relationship with the research community. Recently, the LERA, the Labor Employment Relations Association, created an industrial council, the first ever, for K-12. The industrial council will represent management, labor, and researchers, and we hope from this relationship that we'll be disseminating research and convening conferences to disseminate the research on effective practices around collaboration, around partnerships. So that's one area that we've been working. We started in 2010 with a little research study that looked at effective practice among 6 districts. You'll see a synopsis of that on your table. It's really the synopsis, the one-pager, is really a good document to take and share with a thought partner. Be it another teacher, another union member, a leader, a union leader, or someone in administration. We are also learning from really good exemplary partnerships in the field. Let me talk here about Merit in Connecticut, whose partnership has extended not just to labor and management, but to the community. They have a long-standing partnership that's really moving the needle in a lot of ways, especially around developing the capacity for professional learning there. An ABC Unified School District and their teacher union out in California has really worked with the research community again to track student outcomes over their long-standing partnership. It's a very worthwhile case study, and it's also available through at AFT. On the AFT website. On the Shanker website, let me just say that there is a phenomenal piece called The Social Side of Education. I can't say enough about it. It has some excellent narratives and blog posts, but it also has a very good video of a panel that took place at the Teaching and Learning Conference. Where you'll see some experts even going into more depth on the social side of education, and I would strongly urge you to take a look at that. Lastly, we have some experience at AFT of negotiating and conceptualizing some very innovative structures that I think Shimon talked about here, career ladders. What we did, we were able to do some case studies about our work in 2 large urban areas, and on your table you'll see lessons from AFT labor management case studies. This is a really valuable document for both people in administration and people in unions to take a look at if you're about to embark on creating an innovative structure. These lessons come right from the superintendents, the negotiating teams in Cleveland and in Baltimore, who, again, nothing is perfect and it's all in the implementation, but the actual conceptualization and bargaining of those 2 career ladders, that feedback is embodied in these lessons from the AFT labor management case studies. So, there is a reflective question that we'd like to ask those of you who are remaining for the last 5 minutes, because I really feel as though this is a very opportune moment where we can really reestablish ourselves as professionals. When we look at reigniting our relationships with researchers, when we look at effective practice like the New American Academy, when we start to really listen to union leaders who are leading the change efforts and look at the collective bargaining agreements that are out there, the MOUs. By the way, Esther has also, God bless her, has done a wonderful job of putting together a one-pager on some exemplary collective bargaining language that will also be on the Shanker site. So this is a new time for us, and I want you to think about and write it down for us somewhere, because we want it validated. What sources of support do your school or district need to advance collaborative practices that are culture changing that we heard about here today? So think about it, chance to write it down, get it back to AFT. We want to be informed, as I said, as to how best to move this forward and advance this work in our locals as they're working in partnership with their districts. Okay? So take a couple of minutes, and I'll ask if anybody has any thoughts on that. Maybe you don't need a couple minutes. Maybe you got the answers for me now. Let me know, and then we'll give you a couple minutes to think about that. People are talking already. I did have time for that.
That's actually
Did it make sense?
so what I think the question is, certainly this is going to be, I think it's great that you're asking, get the food to you guys, because that moves
We want to see this. We're trying to lead these efforts, right?
we should have created a
Well,
next year.
Innovation Fund has been really great in supporting this effort, in terms of creating the field books. I guess I did say that. Did I mention innovation?
No, so that's a perfect way to bring it.
I will.
But that was what I really appreciate. You did resources and we can actually use them and take them on that. Because you know, you have to have stuff.
They do.
A lot of ideas that are going to compete with There's 2 minutes left.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to share out quickly? Or share written words?
I was thinking good if the AFT or collectively we could provide good facilitation to help union leaders, district officials develop and pay attention to the relational aspects of bargaining and doing business. So maybe not actually like getting involved in the policy that much, but helping make sure that the policy is conducted in a certain sort of way that pays attention to relationships.
Can I just add to that? Because I think that exactly, he said what is perfect. But I think that what we need is like to actually have it trickle down and actually see that model. Because you can go to as many PDs and you can have people come in to facilitate those relationships, but to actually have it trickle down into the schools to actually make it happen and in the districts doesn't, because it stops there. And there's so much distrust, mistrust, whatever you want, between administration and the teachers, that even though they're there and you have your building delegate with your principal working collaboratively together, and they all say they're going to do it and bring it back to their schools, it stops there. It's all hearsay. So how do you have someone come in to actually implement it and say, we're going to use this school as the model school. Let's bring this person in. This person will be like in our school, on a weekly basis, showing us how to do it, and then bring it to fruition. Because that's where it stops. Because the principals are. We've gone in Providence. We've gone through that. Okay, we have had that principal building delegate collaboration meeting once a month. And then what happens is when the bottom line, it's the principal's name, who's responsible, who's signing everything. There's no trust there. The principal will take the information, bring it back. We have some principals on board, most not. And so they bring it back. It's my way or the highway. This is what I've heard. So this is the way we're going to do it. The lack of trust is so great. We have to be shown that it can work. And so if it's in and someone's like facilitating that, someone's meeting, we're on the right path, We have an ILT and instructional leadership team in every single school, which is spearheaded by the principal and the building delegate, where they're supposed to be making more school-based decisions about curriculum, schedule, whatever it may be in their building. But it's, some schools it's working, some schools hasn't even started, even though they're supposed to have one. The principal will overrule it. So from AFT to have somebody come in to show us how it's actually done, I mean, rather than us going to see ABC Unified in California,
Right, exactly.
which we've already done.
Right.
So we've been there, we've seen it, we just need to implement it. So we need that on-site support to actually show how it's done and correctly.
A new role for AFT National. I love that. Yes.
One thing that we've seen in Providence is among the membership, there's a lot of fear. There really is in the teaching profession. There's a lot of fear out there, and change creates fear, no matter what. There is always a power structure that starts from central administration right down to the classroom teacher, and people are fearful of change because there is that giving up of power. There is that human nature where people do not want to see it happen. We have the model schools that are transformed, supposedly, but it doesn't spread out throughout the whole district.
You know,
Exactly
I
what Jeff was saying,
right.
we lived it,
Right.
exactly the same thing that Jeff was saying is exactly what we've gone through, but we're not seeing it get out into the district. We see it in little pockets, in little spots in the district, but not district.
The ABC and the Meriden examples are codified in a field book for labor management teams on the AFT Innovation Fund website. I forgot to mention that. But they are accessible to you as well as the resources that are out here. So they're real straightforward and really good advice on the steps.
So Kathy, one thing I would say is, you know, sometimes it's very hard from inside a bureaucratic structure to imagine how it might be different. And so I think, you know, the most fruitful way of addressing that is to actually go and visit some of these schools that do that. I know, you know, not only Simmons School in New York, but there's a number of the pro schools.
Can you just wait a minute? We're wrapping up this session. We'll finish in 1 minute. Okay, thank you.
There are a number of the pro schools that do this in really very thoughtful and very deep going ways. And so, I mean, one of the things we can do, you know, for those of you who have the ability to do that, is certainly arrange, and that's not the only place. There are places around the country. If you let us know that you're interested in actually going and visiting some of these schools, we can arrange for that to happen.